The Canadian general election is in full swing now, and Jagmeet Singh is touring the country in his bus due to budget cuts. Now, not all New Democrats are keen on Jagmeet Singh leading the charge. Today, I spoke with Julien Newman, a New Democrat who's been leading the charge to remove Jagmeet Singh from his leadership role. Julien, thank you for joining me today. You contacted me. You're a member of the NDP, and you're looking to get rid of Jagmeet Singh as the leader of this. This is kind of as we're going into the election. It was just announced at the time of our recording here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What made you contact me?
Yeah, so just to give myself a little bit of NDP cred, right after we record this, all of the local NDP people in my riding, my district, are showing up at my house because it's kind of like the HQ for the local campaign. I have this giant pile of signs, and we're going to go out and put them out, and that's just all from my house. So I'm like very much, an active volunteer for the NDP. I don't work there anymore, but many years ago, so under Jack Layton and Tom Mulcair, I worked for the NDP. So the most senior job I had was the head of organization and operations for Tom Mulcair. And I actually started working for the party when I was 18. I dropped out of college to go work for Jack Layton. My office was in the NDP leader's office, right beside Jack's, and I'd see him every day, and we were super close. But that was all in a past life. Today, I'm an NDP volunteer. I'm an NDP supporter and voter. But my day job is I'm a Silicon Valley-based entrepreneur. So that's what I mostly do.
So a snowbird. So you're but in California. So you're down there most of the year, and then you're back in Canada. This is a common story for a lot of people. So. Well, right now we're going into an election, and as you see here, we have. Let me throw this up. This is the NDP. This is where the NDP is going right now. We're seeing. I mean, you're contacting someone. I'm openly supporting the Conservatives here, and I'm quite disappointed with the direction that the Conservatives are going in the polls. Some people are saying that this is all fake. You can't really look at this. I don't know if all of it's fake, and we're seeing a ton of the support from the NDP going to the Liberals, and we're seeing some of the support from the Conservatives here going towards the Liberals. Now, Jagmeet Singh, I've reported on this in the past, has largely bankrupted the party, the NDP party, ran huge deficits, and we're going into a new election. It looks like he's given up on his airplane. He's going right back to the bus. And he's going to be doing that. And this is largely because of where he's taken the party. Now, where do you fit in this and where he's taken the party?
Yeah. So interestingly, like when you see on that graph where the things change, right? Where, the NDP just collapses essentially. Mm-hmm. Exactly then. So that's like December, January.
Yes. I
had been zero involved in Canadian politics forever. For like 10 years. And in December, me and several other of the most senior people in the NDP who are not currently caucus members, right? So like the absolute most senior people you can imagine, like people that you actually know by name. We got together and we went to see the NDP's leadership, and we said, yo, you guys are screwing everything up. You need to trigger an election right now, both for the sake of the NDP and for the sake of the country. Like, we are going to be in a situation where Canada's not going to have a government. Like, that's obvious. We have an incoming foreign administration in the United States that's saying they want to have a trade war with Canada, and we need a functional government. Please trigger an election now, right? They totally ignored us. We went public, like we went in the news. They were covered in the Toronto Sun and Le Devoir, all the mainstream press, and obviously they didn't trigger an election. They ignored us. Not only did they ignore us, I was kind of like the spokesperson for this, and they sent me legal letters threatening to sue me for kind of coming out publicly.
Really?
And so, I think that's kind of at a high level where I fit in, which is like, I'm part of the real NDP. There's this like crazy dude who has nothing to do with the party, who says that he's a leader, and A, he's got to go. B, everyone knows he's got to go, and C, no one's going to vote for him, and the entire party is collapsing around him, both externally, like voters don't want to vote for him anymore, for the party anymore, and also internally, like people are like, all the insiders of the NDP are focusing on how to get rid of Jagmeet, not on how to win the election, which is
Right.
exactly where you don't want to be.
No, you don't want to be there in a party at all. And I mean, that risks the party status at the end of the day. Now, is there some sort of mechanism within the party to oust a leader? Because we've heard, I don't know any of the details, but I've heard that it's not quite a normal party in that regard.
The NDP is very different from the other political parties in Canada. I mean, every political party can be structured however they want. So the NDP is structured in a very specific way. There are a lot of things, but one of them that's different from the Liberal Party is there actually is a mechanism to get rid of Jagmeet, which is they have conventions, and you can vote to get rid of the leader at the convention. That's actually how Tom Mulcair was removed as leader.
Okay.
And I'm not part of any movement that's trying to do that. I'm an NDP loyalist, and I'm like, my message to Jagmeet is, one, you suck, but two, like, just stop sucking, right? It's like, it's not that hard. But I don't know. Up till now, he hasn't listened to us. But there are people. One that I can name that people might be familiar with is a guy called Avi Lewis, who's one of these hyper woke, environmental zealots. His Hamas supporter guy. So he agrees with Jagmeet on all the policies, but he's organizing actively to get rid of Jagmeet, mostly just for his own personal gain. But that's kind of where the party is at this point, which is like, it's all the crazies are organizing to get rid of Jagmeet, not the sane people.
So when did the party go wrong? Because this is what we see out of the party. This is, I know historically the party was about workers, about unions, about rights, that kind of thing. And then it slowly morphed into this, alarmism and socialism, like full-blown socialism. We're talking like Marxist socialism and wokeism. When did that all happen? When did that kind of take over the party?
It's very odd. So I can tell you, like, in the history of the NDP, there are really two moments that mattered. One was, the founding of the party. The founding of the party was really, it was kind of around, like, in the interwar periods, around the Second World War, I guess. And the core message of the NDP at that period, like the Tommy Douglas message, was, hey, we take all of this money and we spend it on foreign wars. Let's take all that money and give it to ourselves, right? It's like, yo, Canadian government, stop taking my money and giving it to foreigners, give it to me, right? That was the message of the Tommy Douglas era NDP. That's the message that created public health care. And the current NDP, they're the total opposite of that. They're well, under Jagmeet, they're warmongers. Like, they're saying, like, oh, Canada's only giving $10 billion to warmonger in Ukraine. Why don't we give more? Why don't we shut down like a bunch of public services to get the cash to give it to them? They always talk about this dental care thing that they do, pharma care, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff costs less than the $10 billion that they're giving to Ukraine. Yeah. It's like, really, like, why don't you double all these things that you keep on talking about and keep the money from Ukraine and give it to Canadians, right? Like, it's just like not the NDP. The other moment that's really defining the NDP's history was the War Measures Act. So Trudeau Senior invoked the War Measures Act to put down protests in Quebec. These were, there's like these separatist protests. These are like
The
serious.
FLQ. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like they would, like they put like bombs and they capture federal ministers and hold them hostage. And the government said, like, we are going to invoke the War Measures Act because we have this crisis. And the NDP said, no, we are pro civil liberties. We shouldn't be using extrajudicial means to go after protesters, even if they are violent crazies, right? And you can say that was wrong. You can say that was right, whatever. But that's definitely the complete opposite of this craziness that they did with the trucker protests, right? Where they're like, let's force people's, like, your body, my choice, right? Or it's like, let's force people to get vaccines. And then when they're upset that you're forcing them to get vaccines, we're going to invoke the War Measures Act to steal their money. And like, what the hell? Like, this is just like the least NDP thing in the world. And I did an interview on the Ben Mulrooney show where he asked me about this. He said, so Ben said, like, Julien, do you feel that the NDP has left you? I said, no, not at all. I feel that Jagmeet has left the NDP. And that's the thing. Like the NDP has always had this rule where former members of parliament can go to caucus meetings. Okay, so every Wednesday when the House of Parliament is sitting, all of the NDP members of parliament come together and do a meeting to check in on what's happening. It's called a caucus meeting.
Right.
And anybody who had been a member of parliament ever, and was alive, obviously, could just walk in and join. That was kind of the rule of the NDP. Until Jagmeet, because former caucus members would come and yell at him during the caucus meetings. And they'd be like, yo, what are you doing, you crazy dude? So they changed. They didn't listen to the members of the party, just like they didn't listen to us when we were trying to get them to call an election in December, right? What they did is they changed the rules so that the former members of parliament couldn't comment and give him feedback anymore.
Wow.
So this guy, where did the NDP go wrong? The NDP went wrong when named some, zealot, insane loser as their leader. So whenever that was, that was a mistake. And, why would anyone? I am going to vote for the NDP. I go door to door, try and convince people to vote for the NDP almost every day. But like, I don't know why they would listen to me.
So what would the average NDP voter who's an old, like, Mulcair type NDP voter, where should they be placing this? Because we're already into an election now. The candidates have been decided. It's Jagmeet Singh, Carney, and Pierre Poilievre. Where would they put their votes if they're obviously there's no difference on the Ukraine issue, but there are differences when it comes to workers' rights. We see coming out of Pierre Poilievre just this week talking about bringing, it almost sounded like NDP stuff, classical NDP things, where he's talking about trades workers and giving grants, extending some of those grants for them to get into the trades, entry level stuff to bring people in and learn more skills. I don't hear anything like that coming out of Carney. I don't hear anything like that coming out of Jagmeet Singh. So what would those voters do? Is the Conservative Party kind of a new home for them?
So I don't want to bash the Conservative Party.
No, bash them, bash away. I mean, this is my show. I want to hear people's honest opinions.
I'd say, like, the stuff that the NDP says about the Conservatives is, I think, true in the same way that let's say in the same way that what people say about the NDP is true. Often all this, hysterics, they're very annoying, but they're true, which is like, the Conservatives, in my opinion, they're kind of like cosplaying as, fake leftists. There is a kind of a wing of the Canadian Conservative Party, kind of like the Diefenbaker wing, that's like, pro-Canadian nationalists, pro kind of like normal people, anti-elite, like that is a thing that exists within the Conservative Party. That's not Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre is like, the John Baird and Stephen Harper wing of the Conservative Party, which is, the Bay Street wing. And in my opinion, actually in almost the entire Western world, the NDP is the only party that actually is at its core a pro-worker party. It's hard to make that case when you have this insane, guy who goes off
right now.
It's very difficult. Like the kind of like honest argument for why someone should vote NDP, which is why I'm going to vote NDP, is a long-term argument, which is like you want to build up a left-wing alternative to the two establishment parties, and there's only one vessel to do that, and it's the NDP. And as a Canadian who's just a normal person, that's what you should do. But it's so unconvincing when you have this guy, who just embodies the complete opposite. He's kind of like, he's kind of, what he is. So Trudeau is like a WEF dude. Jagmeet wants to be a WEF dude.
It's a wannabe. Okay, fair enough. So in recent history, since the last election, Jagmeet Singh has done everything he can to prop up the Liberals. There's really not much of a difference between Jagmeet Singh and a Liberal candidate. He is the vehicle to keep the Liberals in power. Is he right now taking a dive to do that? Exactly, keep the Liberals in power. It looks like most of the support, again, you're a diehard NDP voter, and there's so many more out there, and the branding when it comes to Conservatives, they're not palatable. They don't want to go to the Conservative side, but they will dabble with the Liberals, and they'll jump in there. And is Jagmeet taking a dive to get Carney into office?
I think, honestly, my dad has a saying where he says, like, never underestimate the power of incompetence. I think that's what's going on with this guy, right? It's like, look, this is what happens when you take somebody who should be stocking shelves at Shoppers Drug Mart and put them as a leader of a national political party. It's like, what are you doing? It's just, so for example, right? Like, we came out with this thing publicly where you had a petition from thousands of NDP members saying, yo, vote against the government, right? And we got some kind of like energy from it. And the right thing for the party to do, honestly, was to like call us and be like, yo, just stop, right? They never called us. They never told us to stop. What they did is they threatened to sue us, which is like exactly the wrong thing to do if you don't want to like give extra energy. Like, it makes it so credible, right? It's just like strategically, if you're in their shoes, that's the exact opposite thing to do. It's the exact opposite thing of what you should do if you wanted the problem to go away. But they're just not good. They're just like anti-good, anti-competent.
I think that's a great moment to end it right there. Right there. That's really good. Julien, thank you so much for coming out and saying this. I hope you think I was being fair to you. I mean, I disagree with you politically. I'm very much not. I don't dabble with socialism. I speak openly against it, and all of this stuff. But I hope you think I was being fair to you in this.
Well,
because I want to encourage more people to come in and talk with me about this, that disagree with me politically. I think there's a huge divide in Canada where
politics is about
they're just unwilling to talk to each other.
Yeah, politics is supposed to be about collaborating with people on issues. If you've decided that everybody is your enemy and you're just not going to talk to them, you'll never win. You always lose, right? Like, you need to be able to find common ground with people. So it's in the same way that I'm a New Democrat, even though I totally disagree with a lot of New Democrats on a lot of issues. And I don't like where the party is going. Hey, this is a really funny story. So when I worked for the NDP and I was like 19,
Mm-hmm.
we had this convention, and the NDP's always had these super woke things. So they had the different committees, like LGBTQ, whatever. Like the NDP had that way before anyone else had heard of it. And they had one that was like people with disabilities and blah, 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 blah. It's like some like 40-word thing for like, handicapped people committee or something. Anyway, I thought these committees were hilarious and the names were just ridiculous, just like they still are today. And so I came up with super offensive names for them. So, for example, I'd call the people with disabilities and blah, blah, blah committee, I just call it the cripple committee. And I go around like the NDP's office, like the HQ of the NDP, and I'd always refer to it as a cripple committee, and people thought it was hilarious. Okay. And we went to a convention, and there was like the administrative support guy who was printing out flyers. And we're in like the back office of the convention, so where the staff was.
Yeah.
And I called out to this guy. I'm like, hey, do you have the flyers for the cripple committee? And because it's just like so normal to say that. And the guy who was in charge of the cripple committee, he was there because I don't know, for some reason he was in the back office of the convention, and he overheard me. He was like super offended, and he went and he complained about me. Okay. You can imagine today's NDP, like you would be done. You would be done if that happened.
Anywhere, even on the Conservatives. We saw in the local, or sorry, the BC Conservative Party just recently. Someone got kicked out for saying something that wasn't offensive, but if you clipped it just right, it sounded offensive.
What I said was offensive, right?
Yeah.
And it was purposefully offensive. Okay. And this guy, he complained. And 6 months later, my boss came to see me. He was like, oh, by the way, this guy complained. Just don't say that type of shit when there are members around. That was it.
Oh.
That was it.
Yeah.
Nobody cared. Nobody cared. Right. And that is, so the party has gone like so far from, the Jack Layton NDP. Like that was the Jack Layton NDP. The Jack Layton NDP were people who would laugh at these people. We'd say like the cripple committee, and we thought it was hilarious, right? We wouldn't say, like, no one would actually say LGBTQ blah, blah, blah. We just call it the gay committee, and we thought it was hilarious that they'd come out with this stupidity, and it was just a.
I don't even think that sounds offensive. The gay committee, like whatever.
Today it would be offensive, right?
I don't get why. I want to thank you all for tuning in. This conversation went so well, we decided to continue this, but this time in a live format with Q&A. So tune in this Thursday. Julien Newman will be joining me to bridge the gap between left and right here in Canada. We don't see this anywhere else. You'll see this right here on this channel. So tune in. Again, it's 6:30 Pacific time on Thursday. It's 9:30 Eastern. Live Q&A as well. So tune in. We'll see you then.